What's his name?
Spencer. He's a war hero.
Spencer's long-awaited return to Montana isn't the homecoming he hoped for. It's a reckoning. Episode 7 is about to send shockwaves through the Dutton legacy, pushing them to the edge as the battle for Yellowstone reaches its most dangerous turning point yet. With only 2 episodes left in the season, the stakes have never been higher. Betrayals will unfold, alliances will shatter, and one character won't make it out alive. The war that's been brewing since the very beginning is no longer just a threat. It's here, and it's more brutal than anyone imagined. This might just be the most explosive episode of 1923 yet. So let's break it all down. After the intense shootout at the Yellowstone Ranch in the previous episode, the Duttons are picking up the pieces literally and figuratively. Jacob survived, thank goodness, but the ranch suffered serious damage. The attack from Donald's men was just the beginning, though. What's coming next is going to make that shootout look like child's play. As I predicted last week, a Dutton family member did fall during the attack. Though many of you guessed it would be Jack or Elizabeth, it was actually one of the ranch hands who has been with the family since season 1. His death has sparked something in Jacob that we haven't seen before: pure, unfiltered rage. Jacob is done playing by the rules. He knows now that Donald won't stop until he has the ranch, so Jacob is preparing for all-out war. Meanwhile, let's talk about Spencer and Tiana's situation. After their unexpected meeting in the previous episode, they formed an unlikely alliance. Spencer, still determined to get home to his family, has taken on the responsibility of protecting Tiana as well. It's fascinating to see these two characters together, both running from their own demons, but for completely different reasons. Spencer is running towards something: his home, his family, Montana, while Tiana is running away from the authorities and that horrible priest who's still on her trail. The dynamic between them is tense but respectful. They recognize in each other the same fierce determination to survive. What makes episode 7 so crucial for these two is that they're finally getting close to Montana. After months on the road, Spencer can almost feel the Yellowstone air. But as they approach the border, the dangers multiply. The priest who has been hunting Tiana has gathered reinforcements, and they're closing in fast. Spencer's skills as a hunter and war veteran are going to be put to the ultimate test. There's a moment in the episode where Spencer and Tiana are cornered in an abandoned barn. What Spencer does next will leave you speechless. It's the most brutal we've seen Spencer since his hunting days in Africa, and it shows just how far he's willing to go to keep his promise to get home. The title of episode 7 isn't misleading. Spencer does save her, but the way he does it and the cost of that rescue will have lasting consequences for both of them. Tiana, who has been through unimaginable trauma already, witnesses a side of Spencer that even he didn't know existed. The real question is, will this rescue change their relationship or strengthen it? The answer might surprise you. Back at the ranch, Kara is holding things together as best she can. With Jacob focused solely on preparing for Donald's next attack, Kara has taken over the day-to-day operations of the ranch. She's also become a surrogate mother to Elizabeth, whose pregnancy is progressing but not without complications. The stress of the attack and Jack's increasing involvement in the ranch's defense has taken a toll on Elizabeth's health. The doctor has ordered her to rest completely, which is nearly impossible given the circumstances. There's a heartbreaking scene where Elizabeth confesses to Kara that she's afraid not just for herself or the baby, but for the entire Dutton legacy. What kind of world are we bringing this child into? She asks Kara. The answer, as we're about to find out, is a world at war. Donald Whitfield's character takes on a new dimension in episode 7. We get a rare glimpse into his past through a series of flashbacks triggered by a confrontation with Banner. It turns out Donald's obsession with the Yellowstone isn't just about land or money, it's deeply personal. His father once worked for a rancher very similar to Jacob Dutton. The story of how that ended explains so much about why Donald is the man he is today. The flashbacks are short but powerful, showing a young Donald watching his father's humiliation at the hands of a wealthy rancher. It's not enough to justify his actions, of course, but it adds a layer to his character that makes him even more terrifying. He's not just a greedy businessman, he's a man on a mission of revenge against a way of life that the Duttons represent. Banner, meanwhile, is reaching his breaking point. The telegraph about Spencer's return to Montana has shaken him more than expected. He knows that Spencer's arrival could change everything, not just for the Duttons, but for his own plans as well. Banner's wife notices his distraction and confronts him about it, leading to one of the most revealing conversations we've had about Banner's character. "You're afraid of him, aren't you?" she asks, referring to Donald. Banner doesn't answer directly, but his silence speaks volumes. The truth is, Banner is caught between two impossible choices: continue helping Donald destroy the Duttons and live with that guilt, or back out and potentially become Donald's next target. The solution Banner comes up with is shocking, even for him. He decides that the only way to protect himself is to be the one who finds Spencer first. Not to kill him, Banner isn't quite there yet, but to warn him about what's waiting at the Yellowstone. It's a desperate move that shows just how conflicted Banner really is. The question is whether Spencer will listen to the man who's trying to save his own skin, been trying to steal his family's land, or see it as a trap. Based on what we know about Spencer, I think we all know the answer to that. Speaking of Spencer, his journey with Tiana takes an unexpected turn when they run into a group of travelers heading to Wyoming. Among them is a familiar face from Spencer's past, a soldier he served with during the war. This reunion should be a happy one, but it quickly becomes clear that Spencer's old friend is hiding something. The way he keeps glancing at Tiana, the questions he asks about their destination, it all adds up to something suspicious. Spencer notices it too, and there's this incredible moment of tension where you can see him deciding whether to trust his old friend or follow his instincts. This decision leads to the most action-packed sequence of the episode. I won't spoil exactly what happens, but it involves a midnight escape, a stolen horse, and Spencer using every skill he learned in Africa to outmaneuver a group of men who turn out to be bounty hunters looking for Tiana. The chase sequence is filmed beautifully, with most of it taking place during a thunderstorm that both hinders and helps our duo. Lightning illuminates the landscape in brief, terrifying flashes, creating this incredible cat and mouse game where Spencer uses the darkness to his advantage. The climax of this chase is where the episode gets its title. Tiana becomes separated from Spencer during the storm and ends up cornered by two of the bounty hunters. What happens next shows us exactly who Spencer Dutton really is, and it's both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The rescue isn't clean or easy, and it leaves Spencer wounded in a way that might jeopardize the rest of their journey. But more importantly, it cements the bond between him and Tiana. They're not just traveling companions anymore, they're survivors together. The war at Yellowstone Ranch escalates to new heights in this episode. After the initial attack, Jacob has gathered every able-bodied ranch hand and loyal neighbor to defend the property. The ranch has been transformed into a fortress, with lookouts posted on the ridgelines and ammunition stockpiled in the barn. Jack has taken charge of organizing the defense, showing a level of leadership that makes Jacob proud, but also worried. There's a quiet moment between the two men where Jacob tells Jack about his own experiences in previous wars. "The hardest part isn't the fighting," he tells Jack. "It's living with what you've done afterward." It's a sobering conversation that foreshadows the violence to come. Donald's next move isn't a direct attack, though it's much smarter than that. He uses his connections in the local government to have a judge issue an order claiming the Duttons have defaulted on their property taxes. It's a complete fabrication, of course, but it gives Donald's men legal cover to approach the ranch. This puts Jacob in an impossible position: fight against what appears to be a legal order and risk being branded an outlaw, or comply and lose everything. The scene where the sheriff delivers this notice to Jacob is masterfully done, with the sheriff clearly uncomfortable with his role but too afraid of Donald to refuse. Kara comes up with a third option that shows just how clever she really is. She suggests that they comply with the order temporarily while sending Jack to the county seat to straighten out the false tax claims. It's a dangerous mission for Jack, who will be entering territory controlled by Donald's allies, but it's their best hope. The moment when Jack says goodbye to Elizabeth before leaving is heartbreaking, especially when she presses his hand against her belly so he can feel the baby kick. "That's your son reminding you to come back to us," she tells him. And I swear I wasn't the only one tearing up during that scene. What Elizabeth doesn't know is that Jacob and Kara have made contingency plans in case things go badly. They've prepared a hidden cabin deep in the mountains where they can take Elizabeth if they're forced to abandon the ranch. Jacob shows this place to Kara in a scene that reveals just how long he's been preparing for this possibility. "My brother always told me to have a place where no one could find us," he tells Kara, referring, of course, to James Dutton from 1883. The cabin is stocked with supplies, hidden from view, and defensible, a last resort that Jacob hopes they won't need. The fact that he's showing it to Kara now tells us just how serious the situation has become. Meanwhile, the tension between Banner and Donald reaches its breaking point. After learning about Spencer's imminent return and seeing the increasingly brutal tactics Donald is willing to use, Banner finally stands up to his boss. It doesn't go well. Donald reminds Banner of all the illegal activities he's participated in, essentially threatening to take him down as well if he tries to back out now. Their confrontation takes place in Donald's study, with Donald remaining eerily calm while Banner becomes increasingly agitated. The power dynamic is crystal clear. Donald holds all the cards, and Banner has painted himself into a corner. With no easy way out. What Banner doesn't know is that Donald has already planned for his potential betrayal. In a chilling scene, we see Donald meeting with a new character, a professional gunman who has been hired specifically to deal with Spencer when he arrives and anyone else who gets in the way, including Banner if necessary. This new threat is unlike the others we've seen so far. He is calm, calculating, and clearly experienced in killing. The way he discusses the job with Donald, as if they are talking about the weather rather than multiple murders, is deeply unsettling. Donald gives him a list of names, and the camera focuses just long enough for us to see that Spencer's name is at the top, followed by Jacob, Jack, and, surprisingly, Banner himself. The episode really hits its stride when we return to Spencer and Tiana's journey. After escaping the bounty hunters, they are forced to abandon their original route and head into more dangerous territory. Spencer's wound from the rescue is slowing them down, and Tiana is doing her best to treat it with the limited supplies they have. There is a beautiful moment where Tiana uses a traditional healing method she learned from her grandmother, singing softly as she applies a poultice to Spencer's injury. It is one of the rare quiet moments in the episode, allowing us to see another side of their relationship developing. Their detour takes them through a stretch of land known to be dangerous for travelers. Spencer explains that they don't have a choice. The main roads will be watched now that the bounty hunters know they're headed for Montana. What he doesn't tell Tiana is that his wound is worse than he is letting on. There is a scene where Spencer checks it privately, and we can see that infection is setting in. The determination on his face when he covers it back up tells us everything. He is going to get Tiana to safety and himself home to Montana, no matter the personal cost. The landscape they are traveling through becomes almost a character itself in this part of the episode: harsh, beautiful, and unforgiving, testing them at every turn. Food is scarce, water even more so, and the weather continues to work against them. But it also provides moments of stunning beauty, a sunset that paints the sky in impossible colors, a herd of wild horses galloping across a valley, stars so bright they seem close enough to touch. These moments remind us of what the Duttons are fighting for, not just land, but a way of life, a connection to something greater than themselves. Their journey is interrupted by an unexpected encounter with a Native American hunting party. Tiana recognizes them as being from a tribe allied with her own, but Spencer is cautious. He has learned the hard way not to trust easily. The leader of the hunting party, an older man named Running Wolf, senses their wariness and invites them to share his camp for the night. It is a risk, but with Spencer's wound worsening and their supplies running low, they accept. This decision leads to one of the most important scenes in the episode. Around the campfire that night, Running Wolf shares stories about the land they are traveling through, stories that go back generations before any white settlers arrived. He speaks of battles fought, alliances made and broken, and the ancient connection between his people and the earth beneath them. Tiana understands these stories in a way Spencer cannot, but Spencer listens with respect. When Spencer and Tiana continue their journey the next morning, they are supplied with fresh food, medicine for Spencer's wound, and, most importantly, knowledge about the safest route to Montana. Running Wolf also gives Spencer a warning: there are men ahead who watch the trails, men with guns who ask too many questions. Spencer thanks him for the warning, but there is a look on his face that suggests he is not surprised. He has expected obstacles all along. This is just one more to overcome. Their progress is painfully slow because of Spencer's worsening condition. There is a moment where Tiana confronts him about it, demanding to see the wound herself. When she does, her expression tells us everything: it is bad, potentially life-threatening. "You should have told me," she says, angry but also concerned. Spencer's response is typically stoic. "Wouldn't have changed our direction." It is a reminder of how single-minded Spencer's focus on getting home has become. Montana isn't just a destination for him anymore. It is an obsession, a promise he is determined to keep no matter what. Back at the Yellowstone, the situation has deteriorated further. Jack's mission to the county seat has gone sideways in the worst possible way. He managed to prove that the tax claims were falsified, but on his way back to the ranch, he was ambushed by Donald's men. The fight scene is brutal and realistic, with Jack managing to escape but not without serious injuries. When he finally makes it back to the ranch, he is barely conscious, slumped over his horse. The image of Kara and Elizabeth running out to meet him, their faces shifting from relief to horror when they see his condition, is one of the most powerful of the episode. As Jack recovers, he provides Jacob with critical information. Donald's next move will be an all-out assault on the ranch, not just by his own men, but by hired guns as well. With the backing of corrupt local officials, the attack could come at any time, and they need to be ready. Jacob calls everyone at the ranch together for a meeting where he lays out the situation in stark terms. Anyone who wants to leave should do so now, with no shame or judgment. What happens next shows the true strength of the Dutton legacy. Not a single person leaves. Instead, they begin further fortifying the ranch, preparing for a siege that could last days or even weeks. The preparations are intercut with scenes of Donald gathering his forces. He's hired additional men, professional gunfighters with no conscience and no connection to the area. To them, this is just another job. The contrast between these mercenaries and the ranch hands defending the Yellowstone couldn't be clearer. One group is fighting for money, the other for home, family, and a way of life. The outcome of such a conflict should be predictable, but Donald has numbers and resources on his side. It's going to be a close battle, and the episode builds this tension masterfully. Elizabeth's pregnancy adds another layer of urgency to the situation. The doctor who visits her is concerned about the stress she's under, especially now that Jack has been injured. He warns Kara privately that if the situation doesn't improve, Elizabeth could lose the baby. This information weighs heavily on Kara, who must balance the safety of the ranch with the future of the Dutton lineage. Her solution is to suggest that Elizabeth be moved to the hidden cabin Jacob showed her earlier. Elizabeth initially refuses, unwilling to leave Jack while he's recovering, but Jack himself insists. "Our child comes first," he tells her. Though it breaks her heart, she agrees to go. The scene where Kara and two trusted ranch hands escort Elizabeth to the cabin is filled with foreboding. They travel at night to avoid being seen, and the journey through the dark forest is tense, with every shadow potentially hiding an enemy. When they finally reach the cabin, Elizabeth asks Kara to promise that she'll bring Jack to her as soon as he's able to travel. Kara makes the promise, but we can see in her eyes that she's not certain she can keep it. As Kara rides back to the ranch alone, the ranch hands staying behind to protect Elizabeth, there's a sense that the coming conflict will change everything for the Dutton family. Meanwhile, Banner has made his decision. Unable to directly betray Donald, but unwilling to continue helping him destroy the Duttons, he chooses a third path. He's going to warn Spencer about the gunmen Donald has hired. This means undertaking a dangerous journey himself, trying to intercept Spencer before he reaches Montana. Banner leaves in the middle of the night, telling his wife only that he has business to attend to. The look she gives him suggests she knows more than she's saying, but she doesn't try to stop him. As Banner rides out, we see Donald's hired gunmen watching from the shadows, confirming our suspicion that Donald is having Banner followed. The final section of the episode brings all these threads together in an explosive climax. Spencer and Tiana, guided by Running Wolf's directions, have managed to avoid the main trails and are getting closer to the Montana border. Spencer's condition has stabilized thanks to the medicine provided by Running Wolf, but he's still weak. They're traveling at night to avoid detection, which makes their progress slower but safer. During one of their rest stops, Tiana tells Spencer more about her own story, the school, the abuse she suffered, and her escape. It's the most she's ever shared with him, a sign of the trust that's developed between them. Spencer listens silently, and when she finishes, he simply says, "They'll have to kill me before they take you back there." It's not an emotional declaration, just a statement of fact, but it means everything to Tiana. Banner's journey is more desperate. He's pushing his horse to its limits, knowing that finding Spencer before Donald's gunman does is a matter of life and death. There's a moment where Banner stops at a trading post to ask about any travelers matching Spencer and Tiana's description. The trader is suspicious and evasive until Banner offers a substantial amount of money for information. The trader then tells him about a man and a young native woman who passed through 2 days earlier, headed north. Banner is about to leave when the trader mentions something else. Another man had been asking the same questions just hours before. The description he gives matches Donald's gunman exactly. Banner's expression says it all. The race is even more urgent than he thought. Donald's gunman is methodical in his pursuit. He follows Banner's trail easily, keeping just far enough behind to avoid detection. There's something chilling about his patience, his absolute confidence that he'll catch up to his targets eventually. At one point, he stops at the same trading post Banner visited. The conversation he has with the trader is brief but menacing. When the trader tries to get more money from him for information, the gunman simply stares at him until the trader backs down and tells him everything he told Banner. As the gunman leaves, we see the trader's hands shaking a small detail that speaks volumes about the kind of man Donald has hired. Back at the Yellowstone, the tension has reached its peak. Lookouts have spotted riders approaching from the direction of town, a large group, too many to be friendly. Jacob orders everyone into their defensive positions. The ranch house becomes a fortress, with furniture barricaded against the windows and armed men at every possible entry point. Kara helps Jack to his position despite his injuries, and there's a moment of quiet understanding between them. "We've been here before," she tells him, referring to previous attacks on the ranch. "And we're still standing." It's a reminder of the Dutton resilience, their ability to weather whatever storms come their way. The three storylines converge in an abandoned town near the Montana border. Spencer and Tiana arrive first, planning to rest briefly before making the final push across the border. The town is eerily empty, with buildings half collapsed and tumbleweeds blowing through the empty street. They choose the most intact building, an old hotel, to take shelter in, unaware that they're being watched. Banner arrives next, having pushed his horse to exhaustion. He approaches the town cautiously, scanning for any sign of Spencer or the gunman. When he spots horses behind the hotel, he dismounts and proceeds on foot, his hand on his gun. The gunman arrives last, but he's the most prepared. He circles the town before entering, identifying all possible exits and points of ambush. He's done this before many times, and his experience shows in every calculated move. The scene cuts between these three perspectives as they move through the town, creating unbearable tension as we wait for the inevitable confrontation. Spencer, weakened by his wound, doesn't realize they're in danger until Tiana spots movement outside. By then, it might be too late. What happens next is a masterclass in suspense. Banner finds Spencer and Tiana first, bursting into the hotel room with his gun drawn. Spencer, despite his weakened state, reacts instantly, tackling Banner to the ground. Tiana grabs a lamp, ready to use it as a weapon. It's only when Banner gasps out Dutton that Spencer hesitates. Banner quickly explains who he is and why he's there to warn Spencer about the gunman. Spencer is skeptical, but something in Banner's desperate sincerity convinces him to listen. Just as Banner is explaining Donald's plans for the ranch, a shot rings out, shattering the window. The gunman has found them. What follows is an intense cat-and-mouse game through the abandoned hotel. Spencer, Banner, and Tiana are outmatched. Share your thoughts in comment section and subscribe my channel for more 1923 Season 2 updates.